Hey guys, today we're just going to kind of look through this next portion as we keep on going through our study of nouns. Hopefully this one's a relatively easy one for you today. It's just about being able to distinguish between a couple of things that you're already familiar with. So if you turn to this page in your packet, follow along with me and please get this down. So we're going to be distinguishing this time between plurals, possessives, and contractions. Now, the reason that we're trying to distinguish between these is because all of these kind of have different rules and policies for using apostrophes is really what we're looking at here. Because grammatically, we want to make sure that we're putting apostrophes, if we need them, in the correct spots. In order to do that, we need to be able to distinguish between these four things. All right, so let's get started with this first one. The first one is just boring old plural nouns. Hopefully you know what a plural noun is. A plural noun just means that it's more than one thing, right? So this is just, I'm going to write a little definition up here. This is more than one thing. All right, so it's pretty basic in terms of a plural noun. It just means it's more than one thing. All right, you might see something like this. Let's say that you're looking at the word carrots. All right, and it might say a sentence. You could say something like, the carrots are gross. The carrots are gross. That they are, especially cooked carrots. So in a sentence like this, you can see this right here is our plural noun. And the point is that what we're talking about right now is more than one carrot. That's it. The only context of using this word is that we're talking about more than one carrot. And the thing to note, and what you probably notice here, is never use apostrophe. Right, that's what we're trying to figure out, is whether or not we want to use an apostrophe. And when we're talking about just a regular old plural noun, which represents more than one thing, we should never use an apostrophe. All right, it's just carrots, right? There's just more than one carrots. All right, let's move on to the next one, because that's the really, really easy one. Slightly more interesting, singular possessive noun. All right, what we're talking about with a singular possessive noun, we are looking at singular means one, possessive means it owns something. All right, so a singular possessive noun means that one thing owns something. Right? One thing owns something. That's what we're looking at with a singular possessive noun. And with this singular possessive noun, what we're trying to say is something like, the carrots skin is green. Double gross. Oh, I need to write better sentences. All right, and obviously, once again, we're looking at the same word here, carrots. And hopefully, you're able to distinguish this difference here, right? You can see that there's an apostrophe in this one, and it's a little bit different from the carrots above. This carrots right here is a possessive, right? The carrot is owning this skin over here. The carrot owns the skin, all right? So when we're using a singular possessive noun, we need to use apostrophe before the S. Right? And that's always true. If you remember our rules from yesterday, if I come back up here and look at what we talked about yesterday, if we're talking about a singular noun, we're always going to put our apostrophe S. So when we're talking about singular possessive noun, if we're using a singular possessive noun, it should always be apostrophe S. Like 99.9% of the time, the only thing that kind of breaks that is what we talked about with the names. So like Ross's, you might decide to put just an apostrophe, but let's not worry about that. You won't ever lose any points with me for putting apostrophe S on something like that. All right, so that right there is a singular possessive noun, right? It's a noun, it's singular. The carrot, one singular carrot, is possessing skin. All right, now let's go to here. If we're talking about a slightly less interesting plural possessive noun, the only thing that's changed between these two is that now we have plural here. And you obviously know that the word plural means more than one. More than one thing owns something, or own something. Right? So we are plural this time, So all of them, all of the items that we're talking about own something. Let's say something like this. The carrots, and in this case we're talking about more than one carrot. The carrot's stems are purple. Some delicious sounding carrots today. All right, and now hopefully you can pick this out right again. We have the word carrots again, and this time carrots is possessing the stem. But we can determine that there is more than one carrot, because if you look over here, what's to the left of the apostrophe? The entire word carrots. We know there is more than one carrot possessing more than, it doesn't necessarily have to be more than one thing, but all of these together are possessing stems. Unlike the one above where it was a singular carrot, if you look, carrot is to the left of the apostrophe that had skin. All right? This is where we still use apostrophe, but it's not always guaranteed to be after the S or before the S. We're just going to write use apostrophe because that's where, if you remember when we talked yesterday, we went through these whole rules. That's this one. All right? We have a plural noun here. If it doesn't end in an S, you should add apostrophe S. If it does end in S, we'll just add an apostrophe. All right? I'm not going to rewrite that rule because it doesn't have enough space here. All right? That's what we're talking about in terms of a plural possessive noun. All right, and last but not least, we need to talk about this bland contraction. All right, remember a contraction means more than, or let's go, let's not do more than. That's not the way I want to write that. Let's go with 2 words. We're going to go with cut together. All right. You're probably familiar with a lot of contractions, things like can't, things like won't, things like don't, things like wilt, or things that like shall, or not shall, could've, should've, any of those things that are contractions. Now we want to look specifically at contractions in this case because we're dealing with those apostrophes and S's. We're going to look specifically at something that the ones where we put an apostrophe S. That might be something like Bobby coming home. Now, this is where this is a little bit confusing, right? You can see the apostrophe in the S, and we're going to look at it right here, this word bobbies. If you look at the word bobbies, what is the actual contraction here? Try deleting these S. Is Bobby possessing the coming? Is it Bobby's coming? No, it's not really possessing. What's actually going on here is that we have a contraction that means Bobby is. And that's really what the sentence is saying. Bobby is coming home. All right, so the important thing to remember with this is know the difference between a contraction, a possessive, and I know they look very, very similar, right? You see that this singular possessive noun with the apostrophe S looks almost exactly the same as the contraction here, and that's fine. It's just we need to be able to distinguish and tell that this is Bobby is coming home. All right, still going to use apostrophe S. And this is only using apostrophe S for is. Right? It's only a contraction with apostrophe S if you're using the word is. All right, so hopefully you feel pretty familiar with these ideas. Just be able to distinguish between these 4. So like example, if you had a sentence that said, Mikey's having Tom's mother, or let's go, Tom's siblings party. All right. When you have a sentence like this, all we are looking for us to be able to do is tell the difference between those things. All right. So let's look at all these words that have apostrophes and see if you can distinguish what they are. We have the word Mikey's. Mikey's in this case is a contraction because it means Mikey is. All right. And the easiest way to find those is just to plug it in your head. Say, okay, Mikey is having Tom's siblings party. Does that make sense? Yes. All right. It wouldn't make sense for Mikey to own the having. All right, we have Tom's. Tom as you can see, before the apostrophe s is Tom singular or plural. Tom is singular, so this would be a singular possessive. And then finally, we're left with the word siblings, party. Now, in this case, if we look what's before the apostrophe, we have the word siblings, which means there's multiple siblings, and that would be a plural possessive. Right? So that's all we're looking for you to be able to do, is to distinguish between those things today. All right? If you have any questions, please reach out to me. Good luck, guys.